In part 1, we followed Musa's extraordinary journey from his birth to his rise into adulthood. Born at a time when Pharaoh was killing newly born Hebrew boys, he was placed in a basket by his mother and set adrift on the river Nile, only to be raised in the very palace of Pharaoh and his blessed wife Asiya. As a man, he unintentionally killed a guard for his oppressive treatment towards his kin, and in doing so had to flee Egypt for fear of his life. Finding refuge in Midian, he spent the next 10 years working as a shepherd, marrying and starting a family. Now, determined to begin anew, Musa set out for Egypt once more. But just as he embarks on this new chapter, he encounters a mysterious fire on a mountain. Lost and seeking help, Musa approaches, and his life is about to change forever. As Musa approached the base of the mountain, he noticed a strange and mesmerizing sight in the distance. A fire blazing brightly amidst a rugged landscape. Instinctively, he felt a sense of relief, as seeing a fire often signifies the presence of people. Musa moved closer to the source of the light, expecting to find a camp or a group of people who could help him. As he drew nearer, Musa discovered that the fire was not what it initially appeared to be. Instead of a typical blaze, he found a tree engulfed in a radiant light. The light was illuminating everything around it, while the tree remained unharmed, not burning or consuming itself in the way a normal fire would. The sight was awe-inspiring and magnificent. As Musa stood before the radiant tree, the sheer brilliance of the light made him blink rapidly, struggling to understand the extraordinary sight. Suddenly, he was frightened by a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The voice was calm yet commanding, reverberating through the vast, empty desert night. "Musa," the voice said, "I am your Lord. Remove your sandals, for you are standing in the sacred valley of TUWA, and I have chosen you. So listen to what is revealed." Musa's heart raced with panic. Here he was, alone under the open night sky, lost in the desert with nothing but the twinkling stars above him. He looked around frantically, but there was no one to be seen. The desert was still, and the only light was the glowing tree. His mind whirled with confusion. Who was calling his name in such an all-encompassing manner? It was as though the voice was emerging from the very air around him. The disorientating experience left him feeling vulnerable and uncertain, yet there was a profound sense of sacredness in the command he had just heard. Shaking off his initial shock, Musa reached down and removed his sandals, setting them aside. As his bare feet touched the ground, he felt a sudden chill of fear run through him. Musa stood silently, his attention fully captured by the ethereal light. He waited in anticipation, his heart beating loudly in his chest. The stillness of the night and the glow of the tree seemed to intensify, marking this moment as a profound turning point. Allah, in a way that befits His Majesty, spoke. "Indeed, I am Allah. There is no deity except me, so worship me and establish prayer for my remembrance. Indeed, the hour is coming. I conceal it so that every soul may be recompensed according to that for which it strives. So do not let one avert from it who does not believe in it and follows his desire, for you would perish." As Musa stood before the radiant, unconsumed fire, listening to the divine voice, his mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The direct communication with Allah overwhelmed him. His heart continued to race, and his mind struggled to process everything that was happening. The feeling felt immense, almost too much to bear. Allah, recognizing Musa's restless heart, shifted the tone of the conversation. The divine voice, gentle and understanding, spoke again. "And what is that in your right hand, O Musa?" Allah asked, directing Musa's attention to the staff he held. Musa looked down at the staff he had been using for support during his journey. It was a simple wooden stick, yet it had been his constant companion, offering both practical uses and a sense of familiarity. He replied, "It is my staff. I lean on it, and I use it to bring down leaves for my sheep, and I have other purposes as well." Allah then instructed him, "Throw it down, O Musa." Musa was hesitant for a moment, then following the divine command, he cast the staff onto the ground. Instantly, the staff transformed into a twisting, slithering snake, its scales glistening in the miraculous light. As the snake slithered across the ground, Musa was overcome with fear. Instinctively, he turned and ran, his heart pounding with terror. The sudden, vivid transformation of his staff into a serpent was a reaction of pure panic. As he ran, the divine voice called out, calming his distressed nerves and reassuring him, "Musa, do not be afraid. You are safe." The voice was firm yet soothing, carrying an assurance that penetrated through his fear. Hearing this, Musa slowed his pace and came to a halt, though he was still trembling. He hesitated for a while, then turned back towards the source of the voice, feeling apprehension. The divine voice continued with an authoritative and reassuring tone. "Fear not in my presence. The messengers do not fear." As Musa walked back to the radiant tree, his steps were cautious, his eyes fixed on the snake slithering. Every moment of the serpent reminded him of the surreal reality he was a part of. Allah then instructed Musa, "Now, grasp it, and do not fear. We shall return it to its former state." Summoning his courage, Musa reached out and grasped the slithering snake. As soon as his fingers touched its scales, the snake transformed back into the familiar wooden staff. In that moment, the reality of the situation settled in. This was no dream. Everything happening around him was real. His heart, although still rushing, felt a slight measure of peace, but he was not completely at ease. Allah provided further instructions to build Musa's faith and confidence. "Now, take your right hand and put it under your left armpit, then take it out. It will beam out a shining white light without any harm to you." Musa followed the divine command. When he withdrew it, his hand shone brilliantly, emitting a pure radiant light. The dazzling light, warm and reassuring, illuminated the sacred ground around him, dispelling some of the anxiety that lingered in his heart. Allah then continued, "These 2 signs are among the 9 signs you will take to Pharaoh and his people." Musa's heart had found peace in knowing that he was standing in the divine presence, reinforced by the miraculous signs and Allah's reassuring words. However, when Allah commanded him to go to Pharaoh, a wave of apprehension washed over him. The enormity of the task at hand resurfaced his deep-seated fears and self-doubt. Musa, with his voice trembling, addressed Allah, "My Lord, indeed, I killed someone among them, and I fear they will kill me." Musa was acutely aware of his limitations, particularly his difficulty with speech. He was strong and capable of immense physical achievements, but he was worried that his lack of eloquence would render him ineffective before Pharaoh and his sophisticated court. The thought of standing in the opulent halls of the Egyptian palace, filled with advisors and scholars, whilst attempting to speak with authority, filled him with anxiety. He feared that they would mock him, dismiss his words, and undermine his message. Allah, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, responded with understanding and compassion. He acknowledged Musa's concern and reassured him, "We will strengthen your arm through your brother, and we will grant you both power so that they will not reach you. With our signs, you both and those who follow you will be the predominant." Allah's words brought a wave of relief to Musa. The promise of Harun's presence alongside him was immensely comforting. Harun was a skilled orator. Together, they would be able to complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. Allah continued, "Go, both of you, to Pharaoh. Indeed, he has transgressed. Speak to him with gentle speech, that perhaps he may be reminded." Despite Pharaoh's tyranny and his grievous sin of declaring himself a god amongst men, Allah advised Musa to speak to him with gentleness and patience, offering him a chance to heed the reminder and correct his ways. This was not just a mission of confrontation, but also of potential redemption, showing the mercy and patience of Allah, even towards the most arrogant of his creations. Musa understood the grand scale of this mission. He and Harun were to remind Pharaoh to cease his cruel and oppressive treatment on the children of Israel, and to let the Israelites leave Egypt so that they could worship Allah freely and live according to his guidance. Additionally, Musa was to challenge Pharaoh's blasphemous claim of divinity. They were to remind Pharaoh that there is no God but Allah, the creator and sustainer of all. Pharaoh needed to recognize his position as a mortal and submit to the one true God. Kneeling on the sacred ground, he turned his heart towards Allah in prayer, seeking further strength and guidance. With sincerity, he recited a prayer that would forever become a timeless supplication for all those who face challenges in speaking, especially to a large audience or group. "My Lord, expand for me my breast with assurance, and ease for me my task, and untie the knot from my tongue, that they may understand my speech." This heartfelt prayer encapsulated Musa's deepest hopes and fears. He sought Allah's help to calm his anxieties, making his mission easier, and grant him clarity in speech, so that his message could be understood and be taken seriously. With each word of the prayer, Musa felt his heart lighten and his resolve strengthen. After Musa's supplication, Allah responded to him with a message of profound reassurance and comfort. Allah began to recount Musa's story until this very moment, highlighting his divine protection and guidance at every stage as a reminder of his unwavering support for him. Allah said, "You have been granted your request, O Musa, and we already conferred favor upon you another time when we inspired to your mother what we inspired, saying, 'Put him into the chest and cast it into the river, and the river will throw it onto the bank. There will take him an enemy to me, and an enemy to him, and I bestowed upon you love from me, that you would be brought up under my eye.' When your sister went and said, 'Shall I direct you to someone who will be responsible for him?' So we restored you to your mother, that she might be content and not grieve. And you killed someone, but we saved you from retaliation, and tried you with a severe trial. And you remained some years amongst the people of Midian. Then you came here at the decreed time, O Musa, and I have produced you for myself." As Allah recounted these events, Musa's heart swelled with awe and gratitude. Each moment of his life, from his miraculous survival as an infant to his escape from Egypt and his years in Midian, was a testament to Allah's intricate and protective plan. Musa was overwhelmed with a profound sense of peace and reassurance. Reflecting on his life, he saw how Allah's guidance had been woven into every moment, even the trials and tribulations. This divine recounting filled Musa with an unshakable faith and confidence in the mission that lay ahead. His heart, which had been restless with fear and doubt, was now at complete peace. The divine narrative not only affirmed his place as a chosen messenger, but also highlighted the extraordinary care Allah had bestowed upon him throughout his life. With this newfound peace, Musa's resolve strengthened. He felt ready to face Pharaoh, no longer just as a man with a mission, but as a messenger with a deeply personal connection to Allah's will. As Musa stood up, feeling refreshed and energized, Allah spoke to him once more and said, "Fear not, indeed I am with you both. I hear and I see." Musa left the sacred encounter at the mount, and he returned to his wife, eager to share the profound experience he had just undergone. He recounted the miraculous signs, Allah's guidance, and the specific instructions given to him for his mission. His excitement was palpable, though mixed with nervousness about the task ahead. Musa and his wife hurried back to Egypt, driven by a sense of urgency and anticipation. Once they arrived, Musa and his wife set out to find Harun. Their reunion was filled with excitement. Musa eagerly recounted the events, the divine encounter at the mount, the miraculous signs bestowed upon him, and the command to confront Pharaoh. Harun listened intently, his eyes reflecting on the weight of the command. As Musa finished recounting the story, Harun stood up and embraced his brother warmly. The bond between them was strong, strengthened by their shared purpose and the divine mission they were about to undertake. Without wasting a moment, both brothers made their way towards Pharaoh's grand palace. Upon reaching the majestic palace gates, they were stopped by the guards. The imposing watchman demanded, "Who are you?" Musa, standing tall and resolute, declared, "I am a messenger sent to deliver a message to Pharaoh." The guards ushered Musa and Harun through the opulent corridors of the palace. They were led to the grand throne where Pharaoh, magnificent in his regal splendor, sat surrounded by his counselors and advisors. As Musa and Harun entered, Pharaoh's sharp eyes fell upon them. It was clear that Pharaoh recognized Musa. The atmosphere was tense with anticipation. Pharaoh, with a mixture of curiosity and contempt, addressed him directly from his throne. "So, you have returned." As Musa prepared to respond, the room fell silent. The tension was palpable, the outcome uncertain. Would Pharaoh's arrogance lead to dire consequences, or would he be swayed by the divine signs and the earnest plea of the messengers? The next moments would be crucial. The brothers stood on the precipice of a monumental clash, knowing that the very future of their people and their own lives was now at stake.